if you're faithful and if you know what you're about, you don't have to worry about where is your partner at this point in time. There's so much growth to take place.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things
with Shawn and Andrew,
a podcast all about couples
and the things they go through.
Today we have an awesome couple who has, I feel like, done it all. Rita and Mirthell Onyx.
That's right. You've probably seen this family on YouTube. They have over combined 6 million YouTube subscribers. They get close to 3.5 billion total views in all, and they're everywhere. They have a podcast called The Onyx Life. They have their hands on a lot of things, including a new cartoon.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about on Amazon Prime. And it's scripted, illustrated, produced, and voiced by the entire family, including their children.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yes. And when Shawn says their children, she's talking about their 4 kids. All, fun fact, have a name that starts with S. But we really enjoy this conversation. They have an interesting story, Rita and Mirthell do. Mirthell was a pastor for 17 years.
And family therapist.
That's right.
Which is awesome. And then Rita was actually a nurse that ended up switching to YouTube and kind of learning everything on her own and expanding the family business.
Yeah, and we love talking with people and families who do a similar thing that we do, and so we enjoyed this conversation with them. It was also interesting to hear their work relationship. So Rita is actually considered the CEO of all the different ventures that the Onyx family takes on, but we enjoyed this conversation, enjoyed getting to know them, and also enjoyed their mission and their philanthropy. They give a lot to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, and just think they have a really unique approach in everything they do. So Rita and Mirthell, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to learn more about them and their family, we'll link their information down below. But
before we get started, if you haven't yet, please
subscribe and rate the show on whatever platform you're listening on. I prefer to watch my podcast, babe.
I don't.
You prefer to just listen?
I like to listen.
That's right. So we do have our show on YouTube. We also have it on all the podcast streaming platforms. And side note, if you're listening to this as your first episode, I just want to say my voice does not usually sound this manly and deep, so sorry to disappoint moving forward, but I don't know what the heck's going on, but I kind of like it, to be honest with you.
It's weird.
Anyway, side note, let's go ahead and roll into this episode with Rita and Mirthell Onyx. Rita and Mirthell, thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure to meet you. I know we're just right up the road from you here in Nashville. We should have done this in person, I feel like, but oh well.
All right. Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier that I feel like we need all of your advice because I feel like you guys are juggling a million things and kids and killing it. And I feel like our life is just utter chaos and we only have one.
Yes.
It feels that way sometimes for us too.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many kids do you guys have?
We only have one, but we have another on the way. So
Congratulations.
thank
Well,
you.
let me tell you, it gets easier when you have more.
Really?
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie. You're the first person and first people to tell us that.
Yeah.
Everybody
No,
else is like, oh, Lord, you better.
No, it is so true. I mean, when you have one, that child wants your attention, and rightly
everything.
so. You know, you're their world. And once you introduce a new person, that person,
They're like best friends.
joining together, and you can put them in a room.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I do feel like we have so much to learn from both of you because not only are we in the same world of YouTube and this content creation, but also, Mirthell, I know you were a family therapist for 15 plus years, something like that. And so I'm curious your take, if we'll just jump right in here, on it is kind of complicated raising a family and also being YouTubers. So what is your advice to us, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, you know, raising a family, actually, I was a marriage and family therapist. Rita was a nurse practitioner, and she had her own practice at one point in time. I was also an ordained minister for 17
I saw
17
that. Yeah.
Right.
I feel
So-
like we could do 12 podcasts just on those resumes alone.
Yeah.
Right. So you would think that as an ordained minister, where the bulk of my focus was on marriage and family values, you would think that things would have been better or easier back then. And we had more challenges back then. We were working on our jobs like it was a 9 to 5. And we homeschooled our kids their entire life. But the challenge is that we had to switch off. So because my schedule was a little bit more flexible. I would have the kids usually during the day. She's going and doing school. And then after she does school, she would come back and then she would take over.
Wow.
And so we weren't spending time together. She was burnt out. It was very challenging. But now, from the time that we started YouTube, we have been able to spend time together. We've been able to work together more as a family. So I don't know. Ironically, it just seems to work out better.
The best advice, I feel like, is what you guys are doing and what we do is to make it like a family affair.
Right.
You know, I think it's different when it's just like, that's mom and dad's work. Not that you have to bring your kids into it if you don't want to, but more just understand like, hey guys, this is like a family business, so that if you want to, or if you choose to, you can learn about it. And then it becomes an inclusive thing.
Yeah, it is so interesting. We talked to Aloe Black and his wife, and he and his wife had different views on this. He was of the opinion that, hey, my craft as a musician is something that my kids need to learn. Just like if we had a farm as a family, the kids would help and learn how to, plant seeds and harvest everything. The kids need to learn what their dad and parents do. And then whether they choose to continue that on their own is a choice that they'll make later on down the road. But we certainly, as we navigate this, are just trying to do so thoughtfully. And I'm sure you guys are the same way. It's such a new phenomenon to be able to be in this world and share a family with millions, billions of people, that there's I don't know if there's a right way or wrong way. There's only, okay, are we being thoughtful about this? And are we putting our family as the top priority,
Right. And the thing, I really like that point. In fact, I've shared that point several times as a marriage and family therapist. And now even within this context, there's been a longer time that in society, families have been working together far longer than we have not been working together. Tribes, and we come together in villages, and we come together as a family, and agricultural societies were passing on our trades, teaching them chickens, cows, whatever. Yeah. And so I totally agree with that when we're doing YouTube, it allows us actually more to be able to pass on those values, and not only to our children, but also be an inspiration to others.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do want to emphasize what you just said, being thoughtful about the values that you have as a family, and also that you're sharing with the world is so, I think that's oftentimes overlooked as, YouTube drama continues to unfold, that actually think about the values that you let dictate your life, and that you're also kind of now sharing with the world. So yeah.
I do want to ask though, and this is probably going to be a very long answer, so please take as much time as you want. Coming from your respective careers before you got into content creation and the YouTube and everything within your family, I feel like within the careers that you guys had previously with the nurse practitioner and therapist, everything, you kind of got to see the best and worst of the world.
Right.
Now, on the creator side, I feel like you still get to see that. What have you, first, in that transition, what were your biggest fears in raising and creating a family within the YouTube or the content creation side? And how do those differ? Because I feel like society sees the traditional side so much better, and they see the content creation as only negative, whereas there's so much positive to it as well.
Wow. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that for me as a mother, especially, my biggest fear was online comments, trolls, that negative energy. And so one of the things that I told them from the get-go, at first I asked them if they wanted to do it. Then when they said, sure, I said, I will only do this if you do not read comments. Like,
preach.
Not read any comments. I said, it doesn't matter if you read 99 positive and 1 negative, that will ruin your day, your month, your year. So they said, okay, Mom, I will do that. And to this day, they don't read comments. We don't read any comments on YouTube, except like if we pin a comment, we might see the one right under. And we do that not because we don't care about our fans, but just for mental health. It's just much more important. And I always tell them, I'm like, prior to this social media age, I loved, certain celebrities. They never responded to me ever. because we never had that option. We either watched Seinfeld or Friends or whatever.
That's all we knew.
We watch Marvel movies, and we don't expect them to be after every movie going, so what'd you guys think? How did you like they didn't do that, but we love them for their craft. And so I said to them, let your fans love you for your craft. We'll have times where you can interact, like meetups or if we get like an email, that's very different because it's almost like someone really took that intention. I've maybe seen 1 or 2 negative emails out of like, tons of positive ones. And it's usually like requests from parents and things like that. So I wanted them to understand that there is a difference with interacting with your fans in that way. Yeah. And I think that I also tried to teach them that in this day and age, everything is turning online. So just like you guys were talking about with passing on the values and even the trades, I don't personally believe you can get anywhere without knowing online skills now.
Yeah.
So
no matter what you do.
Yeah, no matter what we do. So even if like, let's say I was still a nurse practitioner, I would know that a way to boost my business is to be online and is to have my business show like my practice or the things that I do. Like I'd always think about like the Dr. Pimple Popper woman, like that has totally boosted a career. So I feel like there's a lot of people right now who see, I think, the benefit. And I think when it comes to YouTube in general, though, because maybe there's a lot of young people on here who don't necessarily have, I don't want to say, they just don't have the wisdom yet. They just have that young brain. So they do a lot of things that maybe bring a negative connotation. But I think as society continues to age and mature into the social media, I just think the stigma will continue to gradually go down.
Yeah. To your point about the comments, we did get advice from a mentor or a perspective changer from a mentor who said, first of all, Shawn and I do think that as a whole, social media provides a lot of positive value. There's a lot of good things about it, but to deal with so many people's not only suffering, not only, the good things, but also so many people's opinions, the human heart and the human brain was not meant for that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you get overloaded and to scroll through hundreds of comments of people telling us different ways that we should be raising our kid is like, no, that's, you're supposed to lean on your immediate community, your family, the people who are in your neighborhood and society. Anyway,
Rita, I'm going to take your advice because I'm the comment reader and I need to not be.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We learned that fairly early. We got married really young. She was, I met her at 18. And then we got married within the year. 18. She was 18. I got married to her within the year. So she just turned 19. So we were really young. And
he was 4 years older though.
And I was 4 years older, but us guys, we're not as mature. So we were probably at the same level, 19-year-olds. But then, we homeschooled. And when we homeschooled, everyone was like, well, why are you homeschooling? We're like, because we feel that we should be raising our children. And we feel that we should be the one that's passing on values and teaching them about life. And so I can't fathom.
And we had the
sending our kids
too. And I like to emphasize that because not everybody has that option or even maybe the personality for it. So I don't hold it against them. Like, you must, everybody has to do what's best for their family. And for us, especially because we moved around a lot with him being a pastor. So it was like from district to district and then to the seminary, it was constant moving. And so the one consistency for the kids could have been homeschool. So that was another reason why we did that.
Right. So my point was sort of like, we've always kind of like bucked the norm and not listened to what society was telling us. We made decisions based on prayer. And
even when we left when I left as a nurse practitioner, everyone was like, how could you do that? Rita, that's so that you'll have a job for life. And I let my certifications go because I was nationally certified, board certified, had all these things. And I was like, well, I work with my family now. This is my business. This is my calling. And they were like, but you should have that safety net. And I mean, that's wise. But I knew too that I would never go back. Yeah. I just know, like, doesn't matter what YouTube and the algorithm does. I'm never going back.
All right, today's Couple Things episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens.
Babe, you know what time it is?
I'm
You
so
want to tell people
nervous.
about your training?
I'm so nervous. I am feeling pretty ready to take on the competition. We're talking about American Ninja Warrior right
Yes.
now. And I can't believe that it's coming up tomorrow.
Okay, so you've been doing everything to prepare for a big day. Tell them a couple of things that went into it.
So I actually haven't gone too much in depth about how I've prepared for Ninja. I've posted some stories about it on social media, but I think that's a good idea, babe. Let me just dive in. So every morning I start my day with a cup of coffee and athletic greens.
And I will say, this was a huge requirement of mine as wife in this whole preparation process because you cut a ton of weight.
Yes.
And I said, if you're going to cut weight, if you're going to cut back on calories, you have to have your nutrients there.
Yes. And so athletic greens was the first option that we turned to. They are packed with nutrients, vitamins, minerals, the whole thing. And one tasty scoop of athletic greens contains actually 75 vitamins, green superfood blend, and more that all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, increase your energy and focus, which was clutch when I was eating less food, and also aid with digestion and support a healthy immune system. And that's all in one product.
It does so much. We've actually talked to the founder. We're obsessed with this product. I've even been taking it every morning, which takes a lot of stress away, knowing me and baby 2 are getting all of our essential nutrients.
Yeah, and this is keto-friendly, vegan, paleo, dairy-free, gluten-free, and it only has 1 gram of sugar. So if you want some athletic greens,
Simply visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam and join health experts, athletes, and health conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every day.
again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. We'll also link it down below. Let's get back to it. Okay, so Mirthell, you touched on this, and I would like for you to expand if you don't mind. You
Sure.
you got married when Rita was 19. I know that Mirthell has Jamaican roots, actually related to Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Read that. It's pretty insane. And you're Canadian,
Yes.
and Rita was born and raised in LA. How did you two meet?
Yes.
So we went to the same HBCU
Yeah.
Nice.
out in Alabama. And so, and it's based off of our faith, so our denomination. And so we did share a lot of the values just for the fact that we're in the same denomination, Christian denomination. The challenge was, there was challenges with culture. You know, you would think that, okay, 2 Black Christians,
Right.
you know, that there you go. Magic is going to take place here. But Caribbean, being of Caribbean descent, being raised in Canada, international influence on my life, and then her being raised as an African American out here, you know, we had our set of differences and set of challenges. But that's how we met. We kind of met in that way, and
Got married pretty quickly, it sounds like.
Well,
and
I
got
was
married
gonna
pretty
say,
quickly.
so 2-part question to that. How did you make that decision? I feel like we have so many different conversations with people who are of the mindset that you need to date for 7 years before you ever truly know a person, and marriage is scary and marriage is something you don't jump into. What is the opposite of that? Because I love that you just dove right.
You know, it's funny. We had a conversation about how we make decisions.
Right.
You want to talk about like the different decisions that we've made
the
made
leap
by
of faith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, basically, you know, around that time, I had gone down to the HBCU with a full scholarship, but I was super immature. Like, instead of going to class, I slept. I don't know why I did that, but I didn't party or anything. And, you know, that's the thing. It's like I wasted it on sleeping, and I ended up losing my scholarship. And I had met Mirthell, and I was trying to thinking what am I going to do now? Because my parents were like, well, you need to come back to LA. Obviously, you're not mature enough to be out there on your own. And I was like, oh man, I just started praying about what to do. He was about a year away from graduating. And I think for me, I was like, I know that he is the one. And so I said to my family, no, I'm not going to come back. Even if I have to stay out here and just work and just figure out what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go back. So we had conversations about where our future was. And so I feel like for me, I said, right now, I would rather be with you where you go. and he was a little older, and he didn't necessarily want to get married right away or anything.
I want to at least establish
And
myself
he was
financially
wise.
first.
But me, I was like, hey, we're going to be together anyway.
Let's
just
do
this together. And it was kind of like a leap of faith because, I'm 19. I think, what's the problem? It's just marriage.
And there's something to that. There's something to that because our first job together as a married couple, we were making like $5.50 each, working at a burger joint on campus.
You both worked there.
We both worked there.
Oh, you've been working together, huh?
Yeah.
So we've been working together for 20 odd years, 23 years. First starting making $5.50 each, so that's like about $11.
Right.
To now we're like, we're making millions, every year. It just, but it just goes to show you, if you're faithful and if you know what you're about, you don't have to worry about where is your partner at this point in time. There's so much growth to take place.
Yeah, we grew up together.
We grew up together, so all of our mistakes, all of our challenges, we just learned together. So that's the upside of getting married young. There is another side, but that's the upside.
But to specifically say, I would say this, that I can honestly say I prayed about it, but I wouldn't say that it was the most well thought out, wisest decision to get married that quick, honestly. But for me in my life and the decisions that I've made giant leaps of faith over and over and over again. And that was just one of the first ones. And everything continues to work out. And although we've had our challenges, you can almost like, you're like in a fork in the road. You're going to have challenges if you get married early. You'll probably have challenges if you have at that time, we would have had a long distance relationship and I would have gone back to LA. So it was like, pick your challenge. And for me, I wanted to be with him. And I was able to go back to school. And that's the thing. I learned from my mistake. I went back to school. And of course, I got straight A's again because I was like, I'm not going to sleep this time. I'm going to go to court. I'm going to go to class. And that's the thing. Marriage for me, I feel, was what I needed to actually grow up. And some people, maybe they don't need that. And that was just what I needed. And I think God knew that.
For me, I prayed for my wife from the time I was young. I watched, my father was a minister. I watched them have a great marriage. So I saw them dancing in the kitchen. They'd go off on retreats. My dad was a marriage counselor, so he would have retreats with the church. And so I just grew up just honoring the concept of family and marriage and love. And so for me, I went there looking for my wife. And when I found her, some of our first conversations were so steeped in her relationship with God and mine. It was just like, yes, this is it. I've been waiting my entire life for this. And I'm not going to sit around and wait. Like, I know what I want. So
that's huge. I'm curious. So Shawn and I just had a conversation about potential deal breakers and, being of the same religion. Is that a deal breaker or not? Or being of a different religion? What denomination are you guys?
We're Seventh-day Adventists.
Oh, nice. Do you feel like if one of you wasn't of that religion, things like it would have been more complicated to navigate the relationship?
Definitely.
I think so. I think it's amazing. One of the amazing things would be to have Christ. That is an absolute. Christ, is the absolute. And so I think as long as the common understanding of the role of Christ in our faith, if that's there, that would be very helpful. Yeah. But then there are nuances in certain denominations that are strong nuances. They may not be Christ, because Christ is the pinnacle, but there's still strong nuances. And so one of the things that we do is we keep a Sabbath. We keep the Sabbath, which is on Saturday, from Friday to Saturday. Right. That has been so richly a part of our upbringing that I think it would be very challenging for us to be with somebody else that did not share that because of just our understanding.
That was a big conversation we had within religion and deal breakers is beliefs aside, if you aren't operating within your relationship under the same quote unquote rules and rule book, it makes things very, very complicated. And if you don't have those understandings and those values and you don't share that same pathway, it would make a long-term marriage very difficult to kind of navigate.
Not impossible, but definitely maybe adds a layer of complication.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But
I would say it would be impossible if there was Christ wasn't in the picture. That means the absolute most to me. And that's a deal breaker for me. And I don't think I could navigate past that because it's just, it embodies who I am as a person. So that, that would be a deal breaker for me. But anything beyond that, I think it's workable because I believe that the Holy Spirit will be able to pull things together.
Yeah. You're speaking about your young marriage got me thinking about, and maybe I'm just like a senile old man now.
Okay.
But I do believe that marriage and having kids is not for everybody, but if it is for you, then the sooner you do it, the better. But it's interesting to think that like at a young age, there's so much immaturity to kind of work through that can really, cause conflict in a marriage. But when you get older, and I don't know what the age is, maybe it's like 32, 33, where you kind of get set in your habits and like you're kind of stubborn. And that also causes conflict when you're trying to look for a spouse, because you have to bend all these, rigid routines that you might have built up over the past 13 years post college or, post high school. And anyway, I don't, maybe there's like a little sweet spot of.
No. And we've had these conversations with people who have talked about how they met their person when they were 16, 17, 18, and they knew that they were like, they wanted to spend the rest of their life with them, but they couldn't get over this thought of, oh, I need to go live my life first and then I'll come back to you. Right. And it's just like, there's something so beautiful in marriage and love about going through those rocky, hard, uncomfortable times and getting, into your 30s, 40s, 50s and being like, look at what all we went through. Yeah. And it just makes it so much more fun. It's definitely really hard, but it's fun.
I remember there was a particular story where I was with my friends. I was in college. This was right before I met Rita, probably the summer before I met Rita. And I went back home to Toronto, and my friend brought me to a comedy club. And whenever I would come in town, he would introduce me to the friend of a girl that he is with or whatever. And then I would go with them. So I went to this comedy club with this girl. I don't even know who she is, but it was our first date. Blind date. And then afterwards we sat in the front of the comedy club and the comedian was like, oh, look at this couple. You guys are a lovely looking couple. And he just, he started to, ask us questions. And then he said, oh, so you're probably can't wait for this show to be over so that you guys can, get it on. He's suggesting. And I said to him, actually, that's not going to happen. I'm a virgin and I'm keeping myself for marriage. And I don't know. I mean, I was just so bold in Christ that I don't know what I was thinking. I'm in a comedy club. That man must have thrown out his entire dialogue, whatever he had planned, because everything was about what on my body will be blue and this and that. And the people were cracking. Like they actually had a really great time. And, but I say this, that at the end of the day, I feel like I get the last laugh because 23 years later, I've been preparing for this. I've been preparing for a marriage that is till death do you part. And so for me, I feel like I got the last laugh. I mean, they had a good time and I'm glad for them, but I was ready for this.
All right, let's take a break. A couple things is brought to you by BetterHelp. Babe, do you know what the month of May is?
I am very aware, but do you want to tell people what it is?
So May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're actually going to have a few special episodes coming up to celebrate the entire month.
Yes, I am so excited about this. I think it's so important.
And speaking of that, I wanted to give a shout out to one brand that we've loved working with, and that's BetterHelp. BetterHelp actually helps to assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapists.
Yes, they are awesome. You can even start communicating in under 48 hours with your matched therapist. It is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy.
Yes, and it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available, which we love. So we encourage you to invest in your mental health. And if you want to do that,
visit betterhelp.com/EastFam. That's better, HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Myself included, it changed my life. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Our Couple Things listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/EastFam.
We're also going to link that down below. Let's get back to it. So your kids' names all start with the letter S. This was strategic or no?
Not really. It's kind of like after the first one, you go, oh, maybe the second one should have something kind of like that. And then, you accidentally get pregnant a third and then fourth time. And you're like, maybe just keep the S's.
Right.
Yeah. We were going to do the same exact thing. So we get it.
Yeah.
We liking your first so much. You're like, let's just keep going there.
Yeah, let's just keep it like this.
We're parenting is intentional, but there's a lot that's just kind of like you flow with it. Like, for instance, like I shared with you guys about having more kids. So the first kid that we had, Shalom, we had bags, we had strollers, we had swings, we had everything that you could possibly think of. And when we went out, we packed a car with the entire room.
Right.
Yeah.
By the second child, it was down to half the car. By the third child, let's just put it this way. By the fourth child, we had a plastic bag with maybe a couple like tissues that we'd just grab, wipe the bum. It was just MacGyvering it, basically.
That's hilarious.
I feel like we're already there. We're like, I don't think we need anything new. I think we're just good.
Yeah.
And the first one, it was like, we need to go get everything they make under the sun for a kid.
Right.
I do have a question though, as it pertains to babies and your the content creation world, because we've asked a lot of different people who live within the YouTube realm how they navigate that world, and everyone says it differently. For us, we've worked through 5-6 years of doing this to where we kind of have our rhythm and our guidelines and our boundaries. How have you guys made it work? What are your we don't go there, we don't talk about that, kind of like you said, we don't read comments. What are your boundaries to protect your family and keep your family time sacred to you?
Well, it's interesting. YouTube loves babies, so you having a baby, your channel will blow up. I'll say that. But maybe you want to deal with it because
well, I think for me, the boundaries that I set we both actually set this, was that we wanted to give children an escape with family-friendly entertainment. We did not want to get political. We did not want to get spiritual. We did not want to get into just anything controversial. And we just wanted people to come and relax, smile. We want people to be able to come to the channel and just do reruns, like how I do when I want to laugh. Sometimes I just go on and I watch Friends or something and just laugh. And so I just wanted to give children that. So that was basically our main boundaries. And we've been able to, I think, to stick with that.
Right.
And although we do feel that there are moments though, where our family may be called to say something and speak on a topic. So of course, last summer, we made sure that we were also a part of the whole movement. And I think just highlighting the topic of racism. See, for us, we feel it every day. We're Black. So
it's not a trend for us.
It's not, it wasn't something that was highlighted for us more. It was just, yes, this is what we're going through. Right. So what we did last summer, though, we added our voice to it to say, I have to give my children the talk when they're driving. I have to think when I move to a city, how will it be for, especially Shiloh, my son, when he's driving around. Right. I have to think about a lot of different things that maybe someone else doesn't. And so last summer, we were able to talk about that, especially on our social media channels. And I felt like that was an appropriate time. But we don't necessarily like to do that, with all of our videos or anything like that, because again, there
needs to be a safe space for kids to just be kids. There are so many agendas out there. And even within the race topic, like, we fully understand that there are some people that really do not care about whatever dilemmas or challenges that are out in society. They just simply are using it as bait to get society pitted against one another. And we don't want to be a part of that. We're not interested in that at all. But like Rita said, so when there are moments that we can use our voice in a responsible way, not getting a part of these agendas to tear down society, then we try to use our voice in that way. But ultimately, for instance, like today, I felt a connection with you guys. So I talked about my faith and with Christ, but we really don't really share that, because we think that there needs to be a safe space for kids to not feel like they're being pushed in a direction.
Because that's what I want for my kids.
Right.
When they go on. That's what I want.
It's such a fine line. Well, first of all, I appreciate you opening up and sharing that. But with us, our content's for like 18 to 35 year olds in the dating, engaged, newly married or new parents. And it's interesting when we have these conversations or bring people on the show who may share the same values as us or may not. My perspective is, I think to some degree, it's our responsibility to like vet whoever's on the show to make sure they're not pouring anything toxic, out and using our platform to do so. But also there's a certain level of responsibility that we give our audience to know, like, hey, we can have a healthy conversation with someone who doesn't share our same perspective or doesn't come from the same background, but it's a fine line between, opening up a platform to maybe something that someone else can't deal with and trying to teach people how to have a healthy conversation. So this is a constant battle that we have. I'm not saying we do it right or well at all, but that's our intention,
Wait, I have a
load. I'm not quite sure if we answered the question though, because I felt like the question was about you having a baby and how does you incorporate the baby into the, was that the question?
Boundaries in general.
First, our questions are always up for interpretation. So I always love how people take them. Second, no, I love how you answered that and how you guys guide your business and because I think that speaks to your family and your family values and what you've taught your kids.
Okay.
So no, I think you answered it exactly how we asked.
Okay, great.
Yeah, loaded question though. As CEOs and business operators of kids content, you guys are constantly on a mission to, like you said, put out content for children that puts a smile on their face. But within that, you're teaching so much good. What's the number one thing you want kids to learn?
That's an
interesting question.
Well, our mission is tell the story, feed the soul, make them laugh, heal the heart. And we really believe that laughter is a medicine. We strongly believe in that. And so a lot is guided by making sure that we're entertaining them, entertaining the children so that they have a safe space to laugh, a safe space to hear a story and be entertained by that story. And then stories have always moved people towards some type of action or whatever, but it's moving them inertly. So it's not necessarily the stories telling you that you must do this, but it's inspiring the best out of us when we hear a story. A story generally does not direct you to do exactly what the story says. It really inspires you to be the best of yourself, and how that plays out is going to be different for each one of us. And that is our target. Our target is to inspire each child so that the best comes out of them, just like the way we parent our own children. Yeah. We're a guide to our children, but we're not here to dictate to them what they must be. And we believe that there is something inert in each one of us that kind of guides us towards, if we follow that guide, which is our giftedness and the things that are inside of us, we will be able to find ourselves doing things that are richly rewarding. As opposed to just having a 9-to-5, we would be in purposeful living.
Well, yeah, I hope that the kids who watch our family get two things: that family togetherness. I was raised like an only child. I have siblings, but I wasn't raised with them. They're like half siblings, and I was raised by my grandparents. So when I had kids, I was under the impression that they would always want to be like always together all the time, because that's what I've dreamt of. Like if I had a sibling, it would be like a sleepover every night. But they're just like, no, Mom, like we do our thing and we come together, at times. And they're very, very close. And I want the kids who watch our family to see that family togetherness, but to also be inspired for entrepreneurship, because these kids, from the time we started, I taught them how to do, how to record, how to film, with the best settings on the camera, search engine optimization, how to make thumbnails, like everything about the business we included, and we taught them, and we also made them official like partners in the actual company so that they own it. So that I want kids who see them to say, wow, I can maybe work with my siblings and maybe we can do something like this, if that's something that they want to do. So entrepreneurship, family togetherness, and just
inspiring them to just be their
exactly
themselves.
To use their talents.
I got to say on the topic of laughter, I was watching the no phones at the table video and it's gold. It is, I was dying laughing. So thank you for that. But I think it's on your website, Rita, you are officially the CEO of the company.
Yes.
Can you talk about that arrangement? Because I don't know if it's official in our arrangement, but Shawn, without a doubt, has the final say. So how have you guys operated with that whole working together thing?
Well, it's a funny situation because it was a transition for us. Being a pastor, and I was a sole breadwinner for some time, I played the role of provider. And the assumption is that somebody that plays a role of provider is the head. It's synonymous. Sole provider, head, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I was talking about, God has given each one of us giftedness inside. I believe that each person has some giftedness inside of them that drives them to be the best that they can be. What we discovered after I had transitioned from ministry and I went to support Rita with nurse practitioner, and then eventually the medical company that she had established it was really difficult. We didn't foresee some things that would be challenges. And so that's when we transitioned to YouTube. It brought out the absolute best in Rita as far as her skill set and her ability to be really great. And I had to respect that. Because it really was her giftedness. And so I think we had some challenging years, to be honest. We had some challenging years where it's like trying to figure out, what does it mean to be the head of the household? What does it mean to,
because he says that YouTube dominates so much, or I shouldn't even say YouTube, but just this family business dominates so much of our time that if I make decisions about the business, it affects everything.
So it could be from worship to going to the park to what we're like, everything, because you're doing so much around the business. And so we had some challenges with that.
But it really came about because it was my research and my idea, and I basically structured everything from idea to execution, and I continue to basically help map out the future, partnerships, contracts. It's just something I naturally do. And he's just an amazing support. And he's more like, he likes to say, I'm the mind of the business.
You're the brains.
The brains of the business. And he says he's the heart, because through him we do like the charity and and those types of things. And for me, I'm very much like, all about the business side.
And I do all the cooking. I always have really done the cooking in the house, and feeding the kids.
We're lucky.
So we have a situation where we honor, if there's a head, then the head is God for us. And then we honor the giftedness inside of each other. So I respect and submit to the giftedness that I see in her, and she respects the giftedness that she sees inside of me, and we honor that. And it works very well for us. It may not be traditional, and it may not always make sense to some people's theology, but when we see the God in each other and we see that giftedness, we honor that.
Well, I respect it so much. And I think that, we've had so many conversations with couples who come in with these very rigid marriage roles that a husband and wife would play, and one person feels slighted or kind of dominated over because they're not able to fully flourish whatever their talents are. But I think that's such a big part of that first year of marriage, is kind of understanding what the expectations are for the marriage roles, trying to learn how to communicate those and like work through the frustrations anytime there's not an agreement. And then also understanding that, gosh, it's actually way more fun to let Shawn, like we're pretty much the same way. Whereas like, I'm totally fine letting Shawn be the mat, or, be the rudder of everything, because I'm able to then do what I'm best at. And there was a certain process of me letting go of that, like, oh, the head honcho, she's still called Shawn Johnson. It's like, for me, I never thought that my wife, it's always, she's going to take my name, but you work through that and you realize, oh, it's okay. And, she can do her thing, and I could still be a man that
one of our favorite things to talk about marriage is understanding from day one that things change, and those roles will go up and down and change over time as people evolve and become parents and mothers, and they work and they don't. And
Yeah.
it's the same, like your marriage just changes. It does.
Right.
And you go through so many different phases, but that's what makes it cool. And if you accept that at the beginning, then all those like rigid rules and kind of boundaries that you've put up kind of just dissolve, and it becomes this fun thing to just work through.
I think things got much better for us when we felt safest in each other's presence and each other's relationship. Feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling mutual respect, mutual submission. When it was a safe space, then we felt like, whoa, I can accept anything about this woman. I can even accept her heading the business because I feel safe, I feel respected, I feel loved.
Yes, I respect that so much. Speaking of the business, I would love to hear about some of the projects you have going on. I know you have the Onyx Family YouTube channel, you have the Onyx Kids, you have Onyx Mom and Dad, you have the Onyx Life podcast, and you mentioned, you alluded to the cartoon that was bought by Amazon. I would just tell us about it. I'm so curious and excited for you guys.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. You know, that's always been a dream of ours to have an animation of our family. So we actually partnered with Pocket Watch. I don't know if you know that studios. We partnered with the Pocket Watch, and there's a man named Albie Hecht who used to be the head of Nickelodeon. So he's like the executive producer on the project. Same with Doreen Spicer, who worked on the Proud Family. So in working with those greats and the studio with Pocket Watch, we were able to do all the voiceover work. My daughter wrote the theme song and all the episode and all the songs in each episode for both seasons.
And our other daughter helped to write the episode.
And one of our other daughters wrote a few scripts for each of the seasons. So
we have a season 1 that is out on Amazon Prime right now. It was released in December.
Yep.
And we already have a season 2
that will be out.
That will be out in the fall.
Yeah.
That's
Let's go.
Yeah, and it's called Onyx Monster Mysteries, and it's just about our family basically helping to save the monsters from humans who basically would be too scared or too
like Bigfoot or the Sasquatch,
hunting them down.
You know.
And it's kind of like we give them a safe space on an island. Atlas Island where we live, and it's just fun, silly,
and we try to hear their story and understand why is it that everybody's so scared of them. And just it's one of those things where it's like what we said, bringing a smile to a kid's face, and the music is really fun, and it was just a really nice project, and we really enjoyed doing it as a family. It's just another project that we could do, and it's just really cool to see our faces in animation.
What is the animation is beautiful, by the way. Well done. What is the message you're hoping to share with kind of learning about these monster stories and why people might be scared of them? Right.
So the interesting thing about it is that I grew up in the era and in culture where very rigid, like couldn't even watch Scooby-Doo. Even though Scooby-Doo,
even though it was fake,
it was always fake. It was always like that. The monster is not really the monster.
Neither of us
always,
could watch it.
We were not allowed to watch that. Things like that. With this cartoon, I think that we are so quick to demonize so many people. We are so quick to demonize others, to call them and give them characterized names without really getting to know their story, without really getting to know them. And cancel culture, and on the other end, there is always kind of pointing the finger at, there's always a demon. There's always this bad guy, and this is the bad guy, and him and all these other people like him. There's that us and them. And we feel like this cartoon says, no, it's not us and them. Get to know people's story.
Right.
Get to know, understand each other. Because I even said this, that even if somebody hurts you, I have learned over the course of my life that you love your enemies. You pray for those that persecute you. Why? Because they have a story. So we're not really fighting against one another. There is a tension, and there is an antagonist that is spiritual, and that is on another level. And so we have to look at each other as human beings, even if we feel that we've been hurt by other people. So listen to people's stories, get to know them, because we have more in common than some people would like us to believe that's trying to divide everybody.
Yeah, man, what an important message. And I just think the more and more heroes and kind of cultural icons that fall, I just think the more and more we need to realize that everybody whether you're famous or not, whether you're a great athlete or not, everyone has amazing qualities about them, but they also have, we're all human. We all have bad qualities too. And just like realizing that no one is, it's not black and white. Like there, a lot of people do a lot of good and a lot of bad. It's like, it's just confusing. It's complicated and it's not always that simple. I would love to, before we close out, if you could share, I know you do a lot of work with historically black colleges and universities. Tell us about why that's important to you.
Well, we find that we are a product of historically black colleges and universities. So we're sort of giving back to the community that has sort of like given us our own opportunity. And so that's really important. So we are constantly trying to give back to institutions that I think is really trying to do something for the culture. We have some unique challenges within the African-American culture. And so we want to be a part of the solution. And we believe that education is a major part of the solution of, giving people the skills and the resources to be able to get from where they are to where they need to be. And one of the things about education is it means that you're partnering with someone. It's not a handout. You have to actually study. You have to learn how to develop your own mindset. And so it challenges people to just be, not to have a victim mentality, but rather to have an empowering mentality that I can do it, that I have the ability. And so we think the framework of education is a great institution to be able to give back to our culture and our community.
You guys have so much wisdom. I feel like, again, like I said at the beginning, we could do 12 more podcasts with you guys just on every topic. Another kind of just question to wrap it up, even though I don't want to go yet. My mind is racing. With everything that you guys have learned within your marriage, within your parenting, all of it, what is the one piece of advice you would give or have been given that you would give to someone else who's thinking about marriage or relationships?
For me, forgiveness. By far. It feels so good to be forgiven when you've messed up. And I've messed up before and Rita's messed up, but I can talk for myself. It feels
Rita, is that true? Has Mirthell
I know,
ever messed
right?
up before?
I'm like, I've messed up.
I'm just saying, like, it just feels so good to be forgiven. And when I talk about forgiveness, it means that you don't necessarily deserve to be forgiven, but that, the whole process, I love the whole process of building back up the trust, recognizing, whoa, man, that was dumb. Like, I don't even know where my head was, but I'm sorry. And now I have to do the work of building back up the trust. And just to watch whatever was torn down now is being built back up. And that person's actually giving you the chance. And it's like, that feeds into your deeper commitment to making sure that you never make them feel that way again. The whole thing is just brilliant. And I can't think of anything greater when I think about love than the concept of forgiveness. It's just a pinnacle for me.
Yeah, I think for me, one thing I've learned, especially getting married so young, is that who I was at 19 is nowhere who I am where I am now. And I have changed several times. The wisdom, the experience, Mirthell has changed. Our marriage has changed. Like, I think my advice is don't get so stuck on how you feel right now. Try your best to just stick it out, get through it, because man, with time, with age, things they just tend to mellow out. You tend to learn things about yourself and about your partner, and it's just not that deep. Because I remember we used to just go like toe to toe with arguing.
We used to go at it.
I don't even have the energy for it anymore. It's just like, you know what? No, we're gonna get along right now. I don't care what's going on. We're gonna move on. And so that's and that is coming from someone like me that I used to have like just a hair trigger, like just be like, oh, you said that, and just be ready to go.
And I already know it's going till 4 in the morning. I already know. I gotta preach the next day, and it's just forget it. Throw it out the window, man. That's
great. Well, Rita, Mirthell, thank you so much for giving us the time and the wisdom. Look forward to continuing our relationship, and congrats to everything you have going on.
You guys too. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. We will link the cartoon, and I'm going to link the phone video as well as your YouTube channel down below. But it was great to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Have a good one.